Well, turning now to the Solyndra investigation, more developments tonight, and our next guest says Solyndra was a bad bet from the beginning, and it put taxpayers at an unnecessary risk of more than half a billion dollars. Joining us now, Congressman Cliff Stearns, chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee's Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee. He is the man leading the investigation into the Solyndra scandal. Congressman, it's good of you to be here. Let's start with first, if I may, the Energy Secretary putting the taxpayer in a subordinate position in the bankruptcy of Solyndra. That, you say, is simply not legal. Is that correct?
Lou, that's correct. The Energy Policy Act of 2005 says it's legal to put taxpayers, subordinate them behind any private investor. Yet the Secretary Chu must have signed off on this because his counsel to the Department of Energy signed a contract that allowed these two hedge funds that offered $75 million to allow them to get their money out first, and all the taxpayers, $500 million, almost $500 billion, are now subordinated behind these two hedge funds, and that's illegal. And Secretary Chu is going to come before my committee, and he's going to testify and explain why that happened and how it happened.
Will the hedge funds be there as well? And we should point out that that $75 million came in the restructuring of the finances of Solyndra after they had already violated the terms of the $500 million original grant and loan.
And the fact is that all the people at the Department of Energy 2 years before said this company would go bankrupt in September 2011, prophetically. So for Secretary Chu to continue to endorse and support, and in fact, we have an email where he, shall we say, enthusiastically was pushing for this and did not want to have anybody stop the Solyndra investment, really shows, I think, malfeasance on his part, and ultimately I think there's the breaking of the law, and unfortunately for this man, he's got to explain it.
Well, what is your reaction to the president saying that hindsight is 20/20, and ignoring the fact that, as you pointed out, one projection prophetically and a wonderful job of analysis and forecasting put the date at which that company would expire? I mean, it was an absolute date certain, September 2011, despite all the warnings of Larry Summers, his Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner. And the president is saying hindsight's 20/20? This is one of the unusual, rare moments in this administration in which they've had prescience.
Well, I think the president should really explain his feelings on this, because he had good advice not to go forward by all his senior cabinet officials, yet he went ahead. Was that because of political reasons, or was he just throwing to fate the possibility of the United States being successful in manufacturing solar panels when all his Department of Energy top senior advisors said it was not possible for this company to survive? You know, Lou, we got 50 pages of emails from the White House. We asked the White House for these. Unfortunately, they were given to the Democrats first, even though the Democrats voted against our subpoena. Every one of them voted against it. The White House gave these 50 pages of email to them first, and these new 50 pages of email show, for example, that Stephen Wesley, who is another large bundler of campaign funds for the president, asked and told the president's Valerie Jarrett not to go ahead with Solyndra. So, I mean, you can see that.
And that was in May.
People have access.
That was in May, well in advance of the president's trip to Solyndra. Congressman Cliff Stearns, we thank you for being here. We'll be following, obviously, every step of your committee's investigation and all of your work. Thanks for being here, Congressman. Appreciate it.